Hi guys, it's Beth here with Aging Care Solutions, offering professional guidance, personal caregiving experience, and really acting as your aging care coach. And I'll tell you what I've learned over the years. I've learned a lot. And you know what I'm starting to know about things is that, well, first of all, I used to be a tremendous people pleaser. And I'm going to do a video about that because I think I think a lot of reasons, really, but a lot of times I think a lot of it has to do with how we value ourselves and whether we think that, you know, I don't know. One of the things that I learned and I've started to implement this into my life, and I think I've almost done it too late, but I guess it's never too late to do this, and that is to use discernment in both personal and professional relationships to help guide us and guide me to make really good decisions in life. I think a lot of times I wasn't a shoot from the hip type of person. I think I always sort of felt, especially because at a young age, I moved away from my parents' home. I was 19 years old when I moved from upstate New York to Tampa, Florida. So I was a long way from home, and I was still a kid. I was still a teenager. I think I had just turned 20 when I left. Like within a few months, I had turned 20. And I was working through the summer down there so that I could save money, so that I could buy a car. And while I was there, I was applying to colleges the old-fashioned way. But I didn't have a lot of discernment. I didn't have a lot of discernment about the people that I hung out with, the people who were trying to get into my personal life, and with age comes wisdom, and certainly discernment is the ability to judge well. And it's like this inner wisdom that helps us separate what is good for us and healthy from what's harmful and not a good option or unwise. And I've definitely have noted that as I've grown older, developing discernment has become an essential way for me to navigate personal and professional relationships. And it's become like a guiding principle for me, so that I can make better and more sound decisions about my life. And a lot of this comes later in life because for me, I've been serving other people for so long that I was almost like I was spinning a lot of plates on sticks, just like they do. I don't know if you've ever seen that, where you have 8 or 10. I don't know if I saw that on probably one of the variety of shows growing up. And then as soon as you think the plate is going to fall here, the guy runs back down and he starts spinning the plate again. Well, using discernment can help, and it's helped me identify healthy and or toxic relationships. And even unbeknownst to me many times, there was a relationship that I had mmany years ago, and it was with a female coworker. And I was young. I think I was probably like 27-ish, 26, 27. And she complained so much. It was like all she did was talk about her boyfriend and what a loser he was and what this and that and the other. And I was like, after a while, I was like, I just can't be friends anymore. Like, it was so draining to be that person's friend. It was a one-way street. I was the sounding board, and I was the one that kept pouring into finding solutions for her, trying to be her, her friend. But to me, not everybody has my interest in mind. They have their own best interest in mind, right? So discernment helped me spot red flags real early, set boundaries with people, especially people who I just kept feeding solutions and kept feeding, well, this is what I would do, and this is what I think you should do. And of course, this friend did not take any of my my suggestions to heart. And so I basically told her, I said, look, I don't think that I want to hang out anymore. When we would go out, I would say, I want to have fun. I worked hard all week. I want to go out and do something fun. I'm not going to sit here and talk about your boyfriend all night long. the one that keeps breaking up with you and making you cry and doing this and doing that. So that's the earliest memory that I have about setting boundaries, using kind of discernment about relationships. And over time, I'll tell you, it took me a long time to learn this. It took me a very long time because I invested my time and energy in people who didn't lift me up. They weren't people who it wasn't a two-way street. They were depleting me, right? And I finally came to realize that these are not healthy people. These were people who were testing me, and I also had this belief I can help them because I'm always very helpful. I'm a people pleaser. I'm somebody who's always going to be finding a solution for you or for us or for whatever. No, not anymore. No, with age comes wisdom. Thank God, because I really needed it. And I stopped investing my time and energy in people who just drained me, who, there was never really anybody pouring into me. They weren't there as a true friend. I was like the friend to them. And this happened to a lot of different people. When I start thinking back, I'm going to get upset if I talk about this friend because I really did love her. She was somebody that I met at a young age. I think we were like 13 years old. There was a big group of us. But we stayed friends for a long, long time. I mean, she was one of my oldest friendships. But what I realized is the only reason that we stayed friends was because I was the one that made the effort. I was the one that would call. I was the one that would drive hours to visit. She was the reason that I moved to Florida initially because she was going to college down there and she gave me kind of this encouragement that I could do it. So I did get that first boost of encouragement from her. But after that, it was, and I had moved a few hours away. But yeah, it just turned out, again, to be one of those relationships where it only sustained itself was because of all of the energy and all of the effort that I put into it. And I really think, a lot of times we do that. We don't even know that we're doing it. And I certainly didn't. I was too young. First I was in my teens. And then as we got into our 20s, I realized I was like, I've come over to see, I've driven over to see you like multiple times. Can you not meet me even halfway, or can you drive over to visit? No, too busy. There was always something, right? But using discernment guides me and will guide you to align yourself with your values, really. Does this relationship reflect my values? Do I feel respected? And do I feel like I am myself when I'm in this? And that's really some of the questions that you can ask yourself, especially like in the workplace. It could mean like choosing jobs or partners. Like I just had a situation a few years ago. It wasn't that long ago, where I partnered with somebody on a real estate investment, and this person used me, even though I had stuff in writing. I don't even want to go into it, but I should have known better. I should have used more discernment, and I should have asked a lot more questions about what the partnership was going to entail, knowing that I was a few hours from the property. How was I going to be brought into this, and what was my role going to be? So anyway, I realized pretty early on that there was a level of disrespect there. There was someone who really needed to get the knowledge about this industry that I was in. And I was really just someone that was being used the entire time in order to further their agenda. So, I think setting up some of these guidelines to reflect what my expectations are is certainly something that in business I'm going to be using more. But when you make good decisions that are true to who you are and not based on pressure or temporary emotions about how you feel about someone, it's going to serve you. It's going to serve you well. It's going to serve you way better than if you just jumped in. And that's what discernment does. It gives you time to think. And I remember years ago, I heard Oprah say something about this. And she said, and I know a lot of people would ask her, they asked her for a lot of money because she was making money. And she knew that a lot was going to be expected of her as her success grew. But one of the things that she said over time was that she said a lot of people would ask her for things, and she came to the point where she initially would say, yes, okay, yeah, let me see how I can work that in and figure it out. But over time, as she matured and she realized that how it was impacting her time, her resources, whether or not it was a good fit for her, she started doing what I've started to do is saying, let me think about it. I hear what you have to say. If you want to send me an email about it so I can review it and find out whether it's a good fit for me. And I encourage you to do the same thing, even if it's in relationships or like now it's really more about relationships with new people that you might be meeting or groups that you might be engaging with, especially if you're of retirement age and you're leaving the workforce, that those relationships are going to be either old friends, people that you've been with for many, many years. But again, our friend groups change over time, especially as we start to lose people. But I think what discernment's going to do is it's going to reduce regret and it's going to increase clarity in your life. So when you take the time to be discerning rather than reactive, you're more likely to think long-term rather than short-term. And using this strategy, like I do, is let me think about it. Let me just decide whether or not this sounds like a really good fit for me, or if it's something that I don't see. I recently got approached by 2 different agencies about a job, and one of them wanted to talk about a podcast, and they wanted to talk about me utilizing, my resources, my knowledge, my, years of experience. And what I realized is that it was them trying to sell me a coaching program. And so I just did a little bit of legwork. And I even asked them, I said, I'm in the middle of 2 projects right now. One is the move. The other is this channel that I'm launching. And I just said to them, I don't think it's good timing on my end. And so I want to give people an out by saying, let me think about it and I'll circle back. And so I am considering different things, but at the same time, I'm doing it on my terms and what's going to resonate with me. So I'm thinking long term, and I'm avoiding like impulsive decisions based on like fear or flattery or guilt for any reason. I'm really thinking, how can this or how will these different engagements with people, whether it's professionally or personally, ultimately impact my life? So, and I want to see the bigger picture about it. I want to make sure that, especially if it's a professional option, that I want to look and discern what my choices are. How do I feel about it? Do I feel like it's something that would resonate with me? Is it something that I would feel good about? I mean, I have always had to be of the mindset that if I believe that what I'm doing is going to help other people, then I would definitely consider it. If I feel like it's only about the money, I have learned that the hard way. Yes, I can command a high salary, but is it going to be a good fit for me? Every time I have done that, it has backfired on me. So lesson learned, I will not be doing that. But the other thing that discernment does is it protects my peace and my mental health. I mean, when you make poor decisions, it can be life altering. I mean, it really, really can. Yeah. It can. I mean, especially when you involve, I don't know. I 2 things come to mind for me, but at the same time, I think a lot of times not feeling worthy of certain people in your life can sometimes lead you to make the wrong decisions. And when you start to value yourself and say, you know what, wait a minute, I don't deserve to be treated like this. I've been a very good friend. I've been a great sounding board for you. But when I've needed you, you've never been there for me. When I've needed and asked for your help, you were never available. So you really do start to realize that who are your friends and who are not. And some of these, wrong decisions and wrong people in my life came out of codependent relationships. Feeling like, oh my gosh, I need this person to help me. No, not anymore. I feel really empowered knowing that I'm independently able to manage my own life, manage, of course, my own finances with my people that I have, the professionals, and also walking away from toxic work environments. My last position in a hospital system had to be one of the worst experiences of my professional career. There's a certain segment of people out there that will do anything to make you look bad or feel inadequate or feel, that they would have done it differently, better, would have had a better accomplishment or a better outcome if they were doing it. And, people like this are a dime a dozen. They are, first of all, I think they're wounded from their own childhood and how they were treated by their own parents. Because if you get off on hurting other people and trying to discredit people who are working very, very hard, and you're making them jump through fiery hoops and just doing all kinds of weird things that you just never would have imagined that you'd have to endure 30 years into your career. Your peace and your mental health are way more important than that. And poor decision making can lead to unfair expectations and manipulation by other people too. So you got to realize that, there are other ways to find good relationships, not only in your personal life, but in your professional life, especially when you prioritize your mental, emotional, and your spiritual well-being. It does something. I think when you start to realize, I'm not put here to suffer. God didn't put me here so that I can just keep enduring one wrong relationship, one wrong, partnership, a wrong choice in work. And so maybe, what we need to do is we need to start sharpening some of our emotional radar, right? Listening to these gut feelings. And I've talked about this before, and that is like this part of our discernment comes from that inner voice. And this has helped me in various times of my life, and I'm sure that it has for you too. And it could have been something as simple as whether or not you should stay, like all your friends are leaving a party. Should you stay? Go home, go with them. Little things like that, or even just in work relationships, like not speaking up or, like kind of staying in your own lane has served me better. But reading social cues and recognizing when someone's actions don't match their words. I mean, this is a really big thing. If someone tells you that they're going to do something, but they never follow through, they mention that things are going to be this way or that way, over time you start to realize that behavior is a language. And when you see somebody saying one thing and doing the complete opposite or failing to come through with what they say that they're going to do, I mean, I don't know how long you could endure that. I know I couldn't. I just don't have the capacity to. I don't have much of a respect for people who say that they're going to do something and then they just don't follow through. After a while, I mean, you give somebody a couple chances, but when you realize that year after year, things never really change, that person fails to launch to be the best version of themselves, people will start to distance themselves. And I have distanced myself from a number of different people at various times in my life. And it's not to say that it was like a form of punishment or that I'm better than, no. I would never, ever say that. We just didn't align. We didn't align as friends anymore. The things that they feel are important and the things that I feel are important. Okay, we live, we have different ideas of what a healthy relationship are. It doesn't make you bad, doesn't make me bad. It just makes me know that I like peace in my life, and I like the idea of having really good communication, and seeing, how it benefits me. How does this enrich my life? Do I feel great when I'm around this person? I left my friend yesterday. We had lunch. I hadn't seen her in a long time, and I just miss her. She's such a wonderful person. We were sort of counterparts. We crossed paths quite a bit in the healthcare space and the senior service space for a long time. And I just enjoy talking to her. She just is, one of these people who has a really good positive attitude. And we talked about different things and about how neither of us really misses the industry or working, because we've gained this confidence that, that just has changed us really. And it comes with age and wisdom, and it's just really what it is, Discernment doesn't mean that you're being judgmental, and I hope that I'm not coming across like that. I really don't want to, but I just want you to use your discernment in relationships, knowing that, and you can even mention it to a friend. Say, hey, look, when we get together, I don't want it to be a gripe session about how much you hate your job or how much, and I've been guilty of this too, is talking about my weight and talking about how I want to improve this or that. And my sister-in-law was the one that pointed out, she's like, can you stop pointing out that there's things wrong with you? Because there's not. You're in this space right now. Things can change. So why don't you just start feeding into that? And so, I really listened to that. And I started to realize that my recognition of myself is going to impact how I show up for my friends and other people. So whether you're navigating friendships or love or family dynamics or work partnerships, the ability to pause and think about things for a little bit, reflect on it, and choose thoughtfully and mindfully about what will help you live a life that's peaceful, that feels fulfilling to you, that aligns with your values and feels purposeful. That's really what being discerning as we age is all about. So anyway, I hope this was helpful. I hope it was encouraging to you to know that, we're always evolving and we can be changing. Just because we're aging, it doesn't mean that we're going to be at a standstill. We're still developing relationships. We could still be potentially getting involved in romantic relationships or even still working, even if it's part-time or starting a business. Using some of these strategies can really help us. So use your discernment, think about it for a little bit, decide, if it aligns with you, and then make your decisions. So I'll see you at the next video. Bye.